Okay, Shana, Terry, take it away.
I think Shana starts this week, I believe. I may be wrong, and I'll promptly admit it if I am.
No, you're right. I'm just trying to get it together over here, so hang tight for me. I'm so sorry.
So there you are. Do you want me to start, Shana? Okay. Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start. Oh, we don't have a recap tonight. Okay, our study tonight will, backing up a bit, since we're starting a new chapter, I'm going to read the blue page, which will tell us some history on the chapter. Then the study will begin on page 44, and that's going to be read by Larry. 44 at the beginning of We Agnostics and end on page 45, neatly evaded or entirely ignored. Have we any announcements?
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Good to be with all of you tonight. Glad all of you are here. And I attended Area 64 assembly last week. We will be having, in our next business meeting, I will give you a DCM report. But the most important thing is that we will be doing Arts Celebration of Life on February 7th at 2 p.m. Central, noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Trish and I finished it yesterday, and it's absolutely beautiful, and everyone is going to be able to come do open-ended sharing. So that's what I got for you for announcements tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Let me put this in so it's 12 noon Pacific time. Okay.
Jerry.
Alrighty.
Let me jump in a minute. I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. We will also be having a service workshop for all those interested in being servants in our group or who have already signed up to be servants in this group. And that will be this Saturday, the 31st at 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central Time, and I will put that in the chat as well.
Put my thumb 6'6". I'm a wretched bitch. Suck a mean dick. You mad cause the...
Okay, sorry about that, folks.
It's only fitting. All right. Good evening, everyone. And I am a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Shana. Welcome to the Lewisburg prepare for our big book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Terry. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing as not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focus your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
Right. And Jamie, thank you. Bring those monks in. Come on and join us for our family's fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Okay, let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Karen to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Karen.
Hello, Karen Alcoholic. Thanks for letting me be of service. Recovered. Pardon me. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
We've got a few out there. Welcome Mike and welcome Amber and Steve and Karen, and I believe we have Gertha as well. And there was one other.
Anu?
Anu. Welcome. Glad to have all of you with us tonight.
Yep. Thank you all for coming. And then the recovered alcoholics, these are your potential sponsors. Is there anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
Boy,
I'm celebrating mine. 27 days.
Nice.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Keep coming back. Come back next week and we'll give you a 30-day chip.
Thank you.
If you should require a baby.
Hang on, Steph.
Larry? Amber?
Larry, you can't talk with your mic muted.
Yeah, I have, on the 11th of this month, I had 15 years. I haven't shared that yet, so I just...
Okay.
Yeah, Larry.
Hang on a second, Larry. Let me get to the file. I didn't realize that was coming tonight, otherwise I would have already had it pulled up.
Attention! Attention! This has been hacked by the CCP.
Ah, damn it. Thanks.
Glad you're quick on that.
15, Larry?
15.
Okay, just a second.
Yo, nigga, fuck y'all, nigga. Yeah, fuck y'all.
Yep, thought that was coming too. Give me just a second, folks. My apologies.
I have it up, Jamie. Do you want me to share it?
There you go, Larry. Congratulations, my friend.
Congratulations, Larry.
And 1 second, we have one more.
Good go, Larry.
And Jacqueline with 42.
Woo!
24th of January.
Well, that was just a couple of days ago, so congratulations.
Wow. Amazing.
Please be patient tonight, folks. Apparently the bombers are alive and well tonight. Okay, Steph, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
It should be.
Congratulations, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Should be.
Congratulations.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay, if you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in chat. Thank you, and see you next week, Lord willing.
Thank you, Steph. From chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility. Terry, I just realized that I jumped the gun on the script, so I apologize.
Did that last week too. No, you're good. Okay, because I have the black part. So traditions, before we begin our study of the big book, last week we reviewed tradition 1. Tonight, let's take a quick look at tradition 2. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Take it away, Jamie.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Good to be with all of you for just a second. Shana, could you mute for just a second? We're picking up the TV. Thank you. Tradition 2, the short form. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. And the long form. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. So tradition 2 is the one tradition where the short form is longer than the long form. And the reason for that is because they borrowed a portion of chapter 9 tradition 9, that our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. You know, anybody ever been to a group conscience where there was a lot of anger and a lot of foul language going on and coffee cups and chairs getting thrown across the room and that sort of thing? It's very clear to me that that type of group conscience does not have God in it. In this group, when we have a group conscience here at Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group, we always invite God into it. And we try and take hands in an orderly fashion. And we listen to everybody, even if it's not something that the entire group agrees with. We go by a majority rule in making decisions of how our group runs, how we present this big book study, how we change formats, the different things that we do. when we send our GSR to assembly. All of the things that we do in this group, we come into agreement with them. And since these traditions were written in when everything was brick and mortar and we didn't have a virtual world yet, but the traditions still are applied the same way within virtual groups, and there's many virtual groups that really don't live by the traditions at all. It's very important for us in this group to live by the traditions, because the traditions are to the group what the steps are to the individual. And groups that don't live by them will become very spiritually sick and eventually die off. We have a lot of things that we do in this group. For example, when we go to assemblies, we take big books to go into the prison, and we take 2 cases of big books every assembly. So, for example, in the last 4 years, I want to say we have donated pretty close to 600 big books to go into the prison system, because that's where a lot of people find recovery as well. And we work together as a team. It's taken a while to get here, but we have several servants in this group now, and we are constantly working on trying to improve things. So oftentimes, even when we are in disagreement, we may decide something in a group conscience, and at our next group conscience or the one after it, if what we have decided to do isn't working, by group conscience vote, we will decide to not do it anymore. And I'll give you an example of that, and tonight is a perfect example. We recently put ourselves, for the first time in 6 years, on online intergroup. And that's where the bombers that we have experienced tonight are coming from, because they're picking up our meeting information on online intergroup. This meeting has always grown by word of mouth. But we also want to try and reach as many newcomers as we possibly can, so we can live within our 5th tradition of trying to carry the message to any alcoholic who needs help. Fortunately, nights like tonight don't happen all that often, and it's a humbling reminder of who we could actually still be if we didn't have a program of recovery in our lives. And who knows, at our next group conscience, we may take it up to take ourselves off online in a group as well if we continue to experience this, because it's very disruptive to the meeting, to the group. A lot of us are very, very sensitive, and we get to Alcoholics Anonymous as broken people with a lot of emotional baggage, and some of the things that the bombers do can oftentimes be triggers for that emotional baggage. But here's what I can promise you. This group will always do what is in the best interest of serving those of you who attend, because this meeting's not about me or Trish or Terry or Shayna. It's about all of you and carrying the message. So that's what I have for you on Tradition 2 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, that ain't in the big book.
All right, now it's time for our weekly installment of That Ain't in the Big Book, or That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things we often hear is... Hang on. Yeah, no, thank you. I was looking for my sticky notes. Can you tell us what it says on page
34, paragraph 2?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hey, how about Donald, aka Gandalf the Red Pickle. Still an alcoholic, always have been, always will be, and many of us felt we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever, yet we found it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish.
Thank you, Donald. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Okay, since we're starting a new chapter, we do not have a recap reader, but our study portion will be read by
You. Oh, no, not the study portion. I'm sorry.
the study portion.
by
Larry. That's right. Sorry, Larry. Okay. And that is going to be the beginning of We Agnostics, page 44.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium. Starting back on where the study portion was read by Larry, the answers will be on one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer, split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is that we're going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know that your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for instance with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzard snipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
Hey, can I have somebody do how we arrived at this point?
Sure. Hi, family.
Jamie or Trish?
Hi, family. My name is Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Okay, hang on. Be patient with me. Sorry. They are just coming in tonight. So this meeting started on January 7th right here in my house. And that was 6 years ago, 2020 during COVID. We eventually went all 100% virtual. This is a 96-week book study from beginning to end, and we do everything in it exactly the way that we do it tonight. We also, after we are done with the first 164, we spend about 5 weeks on Dr. Bob's Nightmare, Then we do 4 weeks on the traditions, and for a fourth and final time, we do the spiritual experience as a standalone meeting. So it has been a great journey. Many of you have been with us from the beginning, and certainly hope that all of you will continue to join us. Less the bombers. We could do without those, but we are glad to have you here. So that being said, we are going to move on with the rest of the format, and which is only one more sentence, and move on with the meeting. Thank you.
Before we read the blue page, we'll need 5 or 6 virtual hands. If you'd like to be one of our answer readers. And just please be aware that the first hour and a half of the meeting will be recorded so we can put it onto our website and our YouTube channel. All right.
Okay, are we ready, Terry?
5 hands. Okay. Okay, I am going to read the blue page, we call it. From Chapter 4, We Agnostics, Introduction. Chapter 4, We Agnostics is a truly remarkable piece of writing. 4 short years before writing this chapter, the principal author, Bill W., was agnostic, yet he demonstrates the depth of understanding a hopeless agnostic alcoholic may receive in spirituality as we become students and practitioners of this textbook. This chapter begins with some of the most important information this book contains. In this chapter, we learn the truth about the fatal malady, alcoholism. The authors then give us a test that, if answered honestly, will tell us if we really need what this program has to offer. Once he has helped us determine if we are alcoholic of the hopeless variety, the text restates our purpose and then the true answer, a higher power as we understand him, who will solve all our problems. Once that problem is stated, the big book begins to erase some of our objections, ease some of our resistance, question some of our unreasonableness, open the door to the willingness to explore the possibilities promised by this program. It states where most of us find ourselves as a result of trying to run the show ourselves. We then are told that we have all the elements necessary to have a successful relationship with our Creator, that we have worshipped something or somebody, loved something or somebody, and that we live on faith and little else. And then we are told that we need not go in search of a higher power. He knew we would not know where to look for him. So he planted himself deep within each of us. We need only to learn to follow the clear-cut directions in this book to see if that is so with us. Okay.
And now it's Larry. Thank you,
Hey, I'm
Nick.
Larry, and I am an alcoholic. And Chapter 4, We Agnostics. In the preceding chapters, we have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To one who feels he is an atheist or an agnostic, such an experience seems impossible, but to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic or the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half our original fellowship were exactly that type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life or else. Perhaps it is going to be that way with you. But cheer up. Something like half of us thought we were atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows that you need not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We would wish to be moral. We could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power. That was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously, but where and how were we to find this power? Well, that is exactly what this book is about. Its main objective is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself which will solve your problem. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And it means, of course, that we are going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times, we talk to a new man and watch his hope rise as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship, but his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God. For we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored.
Thank you so much, Larry. For our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones. We will ask the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence, coming directly out of this week's study, beginning with the first sentence and ending with the last one. Okay, so I am gonna start by reading. Every now and then I'm gonna jump in and make comments. This will Oh, wait, Shayna has the part, don't you, Shayna? No, I think we got it.
Yeah. Well, now we'll go back to the beginning where Larry started, and we'll just break it apart sentence by sentence. And tonight's readers, we have, in my order on my screen, is Kenny, Sheila, Nancy, William, Jacqueline, and Jim. Let me write that down here just a sec.
Oh,
And then,
Thank you all for volunteering.
yes. I know I need all the help I can get.
Okay, so I am going to jump in with starting this off with a comment. The chapter We Agnostics is the beginning of coming to believe. It is a pathway that each individual is given to be able to let go of old ideas and old attitudes and open our hearts and minds to new ideas and new attitudes.
Who did I lose? I thought we had 6 hands. 1, 2. I've got Kenny, Nancy, William, Jacqueline, and Jim. Oh, Sheila.
no.
Oh, I can't hear you, honey.
I was told to put my hand down, so I put my hand down. So
Do you still want to be a reader?
yes, yes.
I told you
I
to
don't know
put your
why.
hand out.
Oh, it's just being a
Oh,
good
we
girl.
want you. We want your hand.
Oh, it may have been the Zoom thing.
Let's just get back to the study.
Okay.
So it's not 11 o'clock.
Right.
All right. So, starting up at the top again, we're going to start with Kenny. What have we learned in our study of the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, there is a solution, and more about alcoholism?
Again.
The preceding chapter, you have learned something about alcoholism.
Thank you. And Nancy, what do we want to make clear?
We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and non-alcoholic.
I'm jumping in with another comment. Now take the 2-question test to determine the severity of your alcoholism.
All right. And William, how do you know if your life is unmanageable, A, and B, how do you know if you're powerless over alcohol? And stop at the word take.
Okay. If when you honestly wants to, you can find you cannot quit entirely. If when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take.
Does this appear to be step 1 in reverse order?
You and Jacqueline, if you cannot quit entirely and have little control over the drink, what are you?
You are probably alcoholic.
Thank you. And Jim, what is the only known solution for such an illness?
If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer.
Does this appear to be step 2?
And Sheila, this is a 3-part question, still 1 sentence. Will this present problems to an atheist or an agnostic? What will happen if they do not accept our solution? Especially if they are what type of alcoholic?
You're muted, Sheila.
Sorry. To one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible, but to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic of the hopeless variety.
Thank you. And Kenny, this is a 3-part question. If you are powerless over alcohol and cannot manage a decision to not take the first drink, What is your destiny? What is the alternative? And are these alternatives easy for real alcoholics?
Be doomed to an alcoholic death or live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face.
Be doomed to an alcoholic death. Is this the destiny for those who stop at step one? Is to live on a spiritual basis the essence of step two?
And Nancy, when we can see the truth, is it really so difficult to hope that there just might be a higher power?
But it isn't so difficult.
Right. And William, how many of the first 100 came in as atheists or agnostics?
About half of our original fellowship was of exactly that type.
Thank you. And Jacqueline, a two-part question again. What do some of us try to do with the truth? What are we hoping?
At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope. We were not true alcoholics.
Right. Thank you. And Jim, ultimately, we must do what?
But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life, or else.
Yes. And Sheila, is it possible that this could apply to you as well?
Perhaps it is going to be that way with you.
Thank you. And Kenny, if so, why should you not be discouraged?
But cheer up. Sometimes, like half of us thought we were atheists or agnostic.
Right. And Nancy, what does our experience demonstrate to the atheist or agnostic?
Our experience shows that you need not be discontented.
Thank you. And William, will a code of morals or a good philosophy of living save the real alcoholic?
If a mere code of morals or philosophically of life was sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago.
Okay. And Jacqueline, if we really apply ourselves, can we resist the first drink?
But we found that such a code, and philosophicals did not save us, no matter how much we tried.
Thank you. And Jim, when we use all our might to put our moral and best philosophy to work, what is still needed?
We could wish to be moral. We could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could wish these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there.
Thank you. And Sheila, when we sincerely apply self-will to our human resources, how successful can we be?
Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly.
Yeah. And Kenny, what is lack of power?
Lack of power, that was our dilemma.
Right. Nancy, to live, what did we have to do? And what did it have to be? 2 sentences, please.
We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be the power greater than ourselves, obviously.
Thank you. And William, if that is what we must have to survive, what is the question?
Well, where and how was we to find this power?
Right. And Jacqueline, well, where do we find the answer to, where do we find the answer to that most important question?
Well, that's exactly what this book is all about.
All right. And Jim, two-part question, still one sentence. What is the main object? This power will do what?
Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem.
Notice that the promise is not will show us how, help us, enable us, etc. The promise is that it will solve our problem. What problem? Every one of them as we grow in understanding and effectiveness in applying our program, meaning all of life's problems.
Right. Thank you. Well, now I have forgotten on who I left off. I'm going to go.
I was the last person to read.
Oh, you were? Okay, Sheila. Sorry. Thank you, Jim. Okay, Sheila, this book is written to be what?
That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral.
Thank you.
The word moral in this textbook means truthful, honest.
Excellent. And Kenny, we are going to talk about who?
And it means, of course, that we're going to talk about God.
Right. And Nancy, who will have difficulty with this topic?
Difficulty arises with agnostics.
That's right. And William, what will give the newcomer hope?
Many times we talk to new man and watch his hope rises as we discuss his alcoholic problem and explain our fellowship.
Right. And Jacqueline, what will dampen his hope, and why will this topic disturb him?
But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God. For we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored.
Prior to this page, that power has been referred to as power greater than ourselves, higher power, etc. With the exception of a few places moving forward in the book, that power is referred to as God. Example, God as we understood him, conscious contact with God.
And that is all we've got.
If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. Please be mindful of your time and that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. A friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. We are now open for comment, questions, observations, and spiritual experiences based on what was just read.
Yay, Larry, come on in.
Larry, you're muted.
I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic. When I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I had a real problem believing in a power that was going to help me with my alcoholism. I probably had as much problem with me believing that God was going to help me as I had a problem with me giving it over to a God that was going to help me. But nevertheless, I was upset with spiritual matters. I had a resistance and a resentment in those areas. And so when I came in, my spiritual walk started probably with just the group and the people inside these rooms, and my sponsor, and my first real higher power eventually came my sponsor's higher power. And in fact, when I had to pray, that's who I prayed, my sponsor's higher power. It wasn't God or creator or anything else. My sponsor's higher power. And that was my first step towards getting to the place where I am now. Later, I moved from there to picking out my own conception. I picked a childhood God, which I call now my Santa Claus higher power, which gave me everything I wanted, everything I asked for. He granted, kind of, and I had that attitude, and for a long time, that's how God worked in my life. I asked him, and he granted, and that worked for a while until it didn't work, and I had to choose another conception as I grew in spiritual concept and in spiritual maturity. And now I call it my grown-up God, and not that grown up in that he is, my adult God, that he, doesn't love me or care for me or whatever, and that I'm afraid of him, whatever. He's still that loving God, but he doesn't just grant everything I want. He gives me what I need and what is good for me and what is right for me. I have to ask his will, and I grew in this spiritual walk that I have today, and I matured in this spiritual walk, and this program allowed me to do that. It allowed me to grow spiritually. It did not force me to believe one certain way, but it allowed me. And now I have a real relationship with this God, this creator. And I have a true relationship in my heart with my God. But it didn't start out that way. And I so appreciate the spirituality that allowed me. And throughout that process, I was still able to remain sober as I moved through this process, as I moved toward God. And that's all I got.
Fabulous way to start us off, Larry. Thank you. Do I have any other hints? Ah, Rick! Yay! Come in.
Hello, everyone. Rick, alcoholic. Glad we're snowed in here, but I'm glad I'm still one that will go out and check the area around and everything, and everything was good. Glad to be here. To invite God into my life, my first sponsor used to say, "You gotta invite him in, Rick." He says, "I ain't going to church. I ain't doing this. They'll I says, you're not listening. And he would say to me, you need to invite him in. Just invite him in. Invite him in. I do believe in God. I've always have. I grew up believing in God. I believed in a God that was not a punishing God. Never has been to me. I know sometimes we think whatever's going on that why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? Well, to me, he's a loving God. And when I turned to him finally, because of my first sponsor, I kind of, I like to say half-assed did it. I says, okay, I need your help. I'll never forget that. Maybe almost a couple 2 weeks went by after that. And I'm sitting in a meeting, and I said to myself, it's been 2 weeks since you've had a drink, especially go after, because I would go to have a drink after a meeting or before a meeting, go get a bottle, drink it after the meeting. But every time I met up with my sponsor, I would go straight home. He asked me if I shared that. I said no. And when he said you might have helped somebody else, I gave it down about that. I did not so what him. I did not say, well, no big deal. I cared that he said that to me. It was true. To me, the way he works in my life, I have to. I try to go to every year. There's a function and I said now it's in Cambridge, Maryland, and they've asked me to do one of the workshops on the doctor's opinion. I've been reading that, I think, about 3 or 4 times in the last week and a half. The last 4 meetings I've been to were on the doctor's opinion. I did not seek those meetings out. That's him recreating me. That's him putting me in places I belong. And 2, I see faces I haven't seen before, and I've seen faces that I've always seen in this group. I've been through we agnostics a bunch of times, like the rest of you, but in page 44, yeah. But to continue as he is means it's disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic. And I highlighted that to the end of that paragraph tonight. It's just what it did for me. It struck me. More was revealed. And then later on down, a little further down, but after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life, or else. I remember my fear of asking God to help me was that it might work, which means you can't drink, Rick. You can't drink the rest of your life. You can't, all those fears that were mine that I put there myself, you know, I was still, my insanity was, I still wanted to rely on my morals to try and drink like other people, and I knew I couldn't. I was still trying to choose that before I asked God for help. And the lack of power was our dilemma. We had to find a power which we could live, and that we could live in. It had to be a power greater than ourselves. I certainly can live with my God today, the Son of God. In fact, it is. Turn to him every day, every morning. I ask him to keep me busy, and he does. I'm not overwhelmed with this work and this program. I'm very grateful that each day of my life, I'll end with this, I'm very grateful for every day I stay in conscious contact with him. But another thing happens. Every day I'm in constant contact with other alcoholics. I don't seek to do that, it just happens. That's him being in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Very well said. Rayo?
That's
Is that who was
Rayo.
next?
That's
Rayo. I'm
Rayo
so sorry.
Baracho.
Ah, takes one to know one. Good morning, good afternoon, good wherever you are. My name is Rayo, and I am a borracho viejo de Phoenix, Arizona, which means I'm an old drunk from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm an old dog here to learn new tricks. Excuse me. But this reading reminded me that when I am also a Vietnam veteran, and when we went to Vietnam, they gave us a weapon, and they told us in the orientation, which was the first day, you have to kill them. That is what we're here for. There's only so many of them and so many of us. And when we kill enough of them, then this action, they didn't even call it a war, they said this action will end. And it is your duty and your responsibility to find them and kill them. And which is exactly what we did. Exactly what we did. We were told that is our responsibility, that is our job. And when we were in Vietnam, we decided to call each other by our first name. We'd been together up to 9 months in training, and nobody knew each other's first name. And so we decided we're going to call each other by our first name, because we didn't even know each other by our first name. So everybody did, instead of just being, Corporal Reyes, I became Rayo. And everybody did the same thing, except Chuck. His name was Charles Riesmeyer, but he wanted to be called Chuck Orange. So we called him Chuck Orange. And so there we were. And this one guy, his then later on wife, in the next few days, he went he was on patrol. And the guy in front of him stepped on a landmine, probably a bouncing Betty, and it jumped up and it ripped his throat out. And he had just come back from a 3-day pass to Hawaii to get married to his pregnant wife. And I became angry with God, because I knew this guy has everything. He can snap his fingers and stop all this craziness. Why doesn't he? And for the next 20 years, I was angry at God for not snapping his fingers. And then when I came to AA, we didn't have any Zoom or anything like that. We had the brick and mortar meetings. And there was a guy named Tim, Chicago Tim. And he said, whoever they was, he says, they didn't let me grow up. They tried to make me grow up. And in Alcoholics Anonymous, we let people grow up at their own pace. The only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. And I used to do a meeting when they had men in Fairville. Used to do a meeting at the prison, and the script said the only thing that is required is an open mind and a sincere heart. And to this day, the only thing that is required is an open mind and a sincere heart, and a willingness to reach out and help anybody and everybody, and to do it and give them the dignity of being wherever they are. There was a president in Mexico, and his name was Juarez, last name Juarez. Respect for the other person's rights is peace. God bless you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your tolerance, and thank you for my sobriety. God bless you. Gracias.
Thank you. And Trish.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. You know, I love the way this starts out with those questions. If when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, and I can easily put them into question form and answer it yes or no. And if I answer yes, I am probably an alcoholic. And if that's the case, I may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. But I spent an awful lot of time, a couple of paragraphs later, hoping against hope that I was not an alcoholic. Focusing more on, I don't want to be an alcoholic, then what can I do about it? And what I needed to do about it was to find that conscious contact with the God of my understanding, so that I could find me, find my higher power, and move on in this program and with these steps. Once I became willing to look at the spirituality of the rooms and separate that away from the religion that I grew up in, but just focus on that spirituality, my life began to change. And the recognition that I could find a relationship with a God outside of me, a power greater than me. I didn't have to have control all the time. And, you know, I had to find that spiritual basis of life. And I love how it says, or else. Because if I don't find that spiritual basis of life, I'm going to go back to drinking. And I'm going to go back to that life that I don't want. Because I have lived this one. And by living with a power greater than myself, with living with my God, living under the direction and care of my God and not under my direction and my control, that's where I find the peace. That's where I find the serenity. And that's where I find a way to move forward each day, no matter what's going on. And I think it touched on that somewhere in the reading. I'm not looking at the whole thing, but, you know, yeah, it was one of the comments that Cherry had. That spirituality, living with that God of my understanding, that's what's going to solve my problems. Not me, not you, not anybody else, but finding that power, finding that God. That's where I'm going to find the solution to my problems. And the peace and the serenity that when I came in, I saw in so many of you, and I wanted, and I didn't know how to get it. And I'm going to stop there because there's a lot of hands up. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Trish. Beautiful. Xavier, come on in.
Hey, good evening, Xavier Alcoholic. So glad to be here. So glad to be at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm grateful to be sober. I've been going through kind of a dry drunk lately, and you know, it's good to get back in the program. I'll get back to working with my sponsor and doing the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and not doing Xavier's program, because when I do Xavier's program, I suffer from untreated alcoholism without a drink. And it's not pretty. So it's good to get back into the solution. My wife was teasing me. We're reading chapter 4. And I reminded her chapter 5 is my favorite chapter, not chapter 4. And she was noting that I'm living more like an agnostic right now, where I'm in charge and I have God in my life. because Xavier's on the show. And it's painful to run the show. No matter how much I know that intellectually, left to my own devices, I tend to retract back into my alcoholic thinking. And then in that alcoholic thinking, there can sometimes be craziness or fear, things of that nature. And it's funny because the solution is very simple. Simple but not easy. A price had to be paid. And, I've been around long enough to know the solution, including inventory, sponsor, C, prayer, meditation, going to meetings, service, unity, recovery. But intellectual, or what is it? Self-knowledge availed us nothing, and this is a program of action. So I'm here to tell on myself and get out of this dry drunk. And the beam, the spirit of the light, the fourth dimension, as they call it. Yeah, that's all I got. So, all right, thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Xavier. I can personally relate. Jamie! Come in.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic. And Sheila, you can raise your hand again. We will make time for the share. We have been known to go on for 2 hours and 45 minutes at one time or another. Good to be with you, family, and glad you are here. And I believe that the chapter to the Agnostics is one of the most profound pieces of literature ever written, and even more so than the classics. We just spent 28 weeks going from the beginning of the book through the preface and forewords and the doctor's opinion and the first 3 chapters, all about step 1. And my goal when I take someone on the sponsor is to take them through those pages. And when we get to that part, and Trish touched on it, and turning the statements into questions, if when I'm drinking, I can't stop when I want to. No, I can't. And I have no control over the amount I take. No, I don't. I am an alcoholic. The debate is over. Step 1 is done, and it's time for me to get off my butt off of the fence and debating as to whether or not I am an alcoholic. And then as I go through this, my goal is to get someone that I'm working with to this part right here on page 45. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves. Obviously. Notice the word obviously is a full sentence. Shortest sentence in the book, but it's still a full sentence. But where and how were we to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Now, this may seem a little insensitive of me, but my goal is to get someone that I'm working with. It doesn't matter if they're a newcomer or if they've been around Alcoholics Anonymous for decades. My goal is to get them to that page, that passage right there. Because when I can get them to that passage, they have a decision to make. I am either ready to move on with this program and find that power, or I have no interest in having that power. And if they have no interest in that power, there's absolutely nothing that I can do to help them. And I am very well known for telling people that if we are not in the book and we are not talking about steps, and that I like to read the book with people, but that doesn't always happen. But in our conversations, we certainly talk about the book. But I tell them if we're not in the steps and we're not practicing this program, then I'm not really sponsoring you. I'm just the guy you call up to bitch about life about. And that may seem hard and it may seem insensitive, but it's absolutely true. I want to see everybody recover. I want to see everybody be free and find this richness and joy and happiness that comes through the practice of taking the steps. But this isn't Sir George's smorgasbord. I can't just go get the pudding and the ice cream and the cookies and have a well-balanced diet. And in order to have a well-balanced spiritual diet, I need to practice everything that is in the first 164 pages of our book. And if I'm not willing to do that, I can tell you folks, it is not hard to be 24 and a half years sober and suffer from untreated alcoholism. I know that because I've been there. And it wasn't until I discovered this particular big book study and being in so much deep emotional pain in my own untreated alcoholism that I literally strapped my butt to a catapult and catapulted myself back into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and practicing these things every day of my life. Some days I practice them much better than I do other days. But the joy, the richness, the quality of life that I have today, I have a life that is extremely acceptable to me as a result of living this life. And I'll kick it off to my brother Michael. Good to see you. You're muted, bro. Here, let me send you an unmute key. There you go.
All right, there you go. All right, thanks, Jamie. Thanks to all of you guys. Your shares has been really good. Man, I heard some good stuff. That fourth dimension, but let me back up. I had my own concept of God. I was given that, in church growing up. I was born and raised in a Seventh-day Adventist Christian background, Judeo-Christian beliefs. So I was given a God, and I was given a God in this box. And the program talks about that God, and then being propelled into the fourth dimension. There's so much, because we have to be open-minded, willing, and honest when we come to this program. And I totally turned my back on that God that I was given, and I wanted to do my own thing. I went out, I lived, I drank, I was all in my disease. And then when I come into the program, I first heard of this God thing again, and I kind of like, I don't want to hear that, but as time went on, I realized that I had to surrender, and I was able to get my own concept of a power greater than myself, a higher power. And see, then when I did that, going through the first 3 steps with the sponsor, going through all the steps with the sponsor, but those first three steps, I was able to get my own concept of a power greater than myself. And that was the beginning of this relationship, this new relationship with something that I wasn't afraid of, something that I knew wanted the best for me, a power greater than me that was going to help me get through this time, these struggles, and through prayer and meditation, I'm able to continue to build that relationship and get that closeness and that spiritual foundation. Because this is a spiritual program, and we talk about being propelled into that fourth dimension. Man, it has blown the top off of this thing for me. And now the English language, the words that we have been given, like God, Creator, they can't contain this higher power that I have now. It's so much greater than all those things put together. I cannot find the words to express what that is. But I do know that that power is within me. And when I go into my prayer and my meditation, I'm able to connect. I'm able to strengthen that bond and that relationship. And I try to give that to my sponsees. You know, I try to make sure that the newcomer understands that this is a spiritual program. You know, and part in the book it talks about, you know, you have to live this thing. You know, and you have to. And once you make that connection with a power greater than yourself, and having that open mind, for me, I have just scratched the surface of this thing, and I don't know where it's going to take me. You know, it talks about a power of my understanding, or God of my understanding. You know, the more I know, the less I know. You know, and it's like this God, this relationship, this power. There's no limit. You know, and I cannot find the words to express that. But that has brought me, you know, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, me being an alcoholic, me coming into the rooms, has given me something that I had never had before. And it's amazing. That's all I got.
Thank you, brother. Glad you are here. And Miss Sheila, welcome.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short.
It's
The
okay.
passion, thank you all so much. The passion of this group. You know, this is my favorite subject, my transformation. You know, and we agnostics, this chapter did save my life. You know, I was that person that would have died an alcoholic death if I hadn't chosen the spiritual basis to live for, you know, to live with and to live on. In the beginning, I didn't understand why the words God of our understanding were in italics in step 3 and 11. What does that mean, God of our understanding? And then as I grew and got a little more time and did more reading and got more familiar with things and connected the dots, I noticed in tradition 5 it says we are a spiritual entity. You know, our ultimate our goal is to hand over that incredible spiritual freedom that we have, spiritual liberation, the words in the book say. And through step 3, you know, learning how to hand my fears, my will, my life, my defects over to the care of God as God understands, and in God's time, not my time, my footwork, but God's time, to learn how to be patient, to learn how to pause. This chapter comforted me a lot. I came in at 62. I had the childhood where I had a mother who had been in the war and lost her family in the Holocaust. I was adopted, never knew my original parents, and I never felt safe. And my mother was a single mother, but she was terrified all the time. You know, she had so many trauma triggers, and so I inherited that. And we moved around a lot, so I always felt off balance. And because of we agnostics, it was about 8 months in, it was already brought up, you know, that sometimes emotional sobriety, for me, an emotional relapse is worse than alcohol. Actually, worse than alcohol. And I really try to stay on top of, you know, keeping on, you know, my routines and my spiritual rituals and my service. But not to get off track, just to say that, you know, this page 55, I know we're not there yet, but one day I was just so miserable. It was 8 months in. I just wasn't quite getting that third step. Just that my reservation, you know, I don't know, it was a fear. But I did have a God as a child, and I have come back to that God. And this page brought me back one day in March. And then I got another sponsor, and I became willing, fully 100% willing. And I worked and finished the steps. It took me a year. But, you know, for these lines gave me so much comfort. That I would never be alone. It was just brought up, you know, in the share before this, that immense, eternal, expansive, infinite peace within my heart. And I learned in this chapter that it was always there. It was obscured by calamity in life. But the spark was there, and it lit up, and it's lighting up every day, and is growing every day. And God is just as much a fact as I am. And you know why? Because I chose that God is everything. I made a decision, and it was that simple. And that great reality, capital G, capital R. Call it what you want. I call it God. And it's so much easier, and it's so comforting. It's like mac and cheese, comfort food, So I'll just leave with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Sir William.
Good evening to everybody. My name is William Alcoholic. Whenever we come up with read the big book, literature about alcoholism, it gives me a chance to reflect how my life was before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and what happened since I've been here. And one of the good things about this, this is what we read tonight too. I certainly agree is one of the most greatest piece of literature that I ever read. And what makes it so great, it all inclusive, never exclude anybody out of here. So when I look back at my life before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I knew about God, you know what I mean, but I didn't have a good relationship with God. The reason why I didn't have that good relationship with God because I was telling God what I wanted God to do. So in reality, I was playing God myself. Thing got tough. God give me $50,000 to help me out of this. God, I don't like that person over there. Just move them some other place and stuff like that. That's what was going on in my life. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I heard other people sharing about I had a problem with alcohol because I thought I had willpower. I had did a whole lot of good things in life and stuff like that. So I thought I could, because of my willpower, because I come from that place. My mother and father died when I was 2 years of age, and I began to have some material success and stuff. So I thought I could do the same thing with alcoholism. I had a hard time trying to tap into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous because of that. But one of the good things that helped me was as I stayed here and they told me how powerful alcohol, that first step had two parts to it. It had that powerful alcohol in my life has become unmanageable. And that's the emotional part of my life. So I began to believe in that, and as I began to practice these principles, and one of the things that helped me the most was to from what I told you, I used to be like and to change into what I'm like today. And the second step, it says something like, if God could help you with your alcoholism, from the 12 and 12, if He could help you with your alcoholism, He could help you with anything else in your life, providing. So all I have to do is think about what I did whenever I was to help me with my alcoholism. I came to meeting, talk about alcohol and stuff like that. And then when we say get a God of your understanding, and that made it a lot easier for me. I was able to share that God that I had before I came here and began to talk about God. And I don't try to wash it down nobody else's mouth, because we all move at our own pace, But I began to call it God, I no longer use a pronoun to call God. I say God, because I don't feel at ease today using a pronoun to talk about God. So could solve your other problem is just exactly as it did that, And I tell you, and I'm a true believer that since I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't ask God for nothing else because I could see in my life what God was working in my life before I got here. But what happened, I got that relationship. So I have gratitude most of the time when I wake up. I just say, thank you, God, for another day. I thank you, God, what is your purpose for me today? And I do a devotion and stuff. So it's sort of that what he was talking about deep down inside of everybody is that fundamental ideal of God, And so that's what worked that God up inside of me, So now even to, and I heard a lot of people say this a lot of times, for having a request for God. I'm a Vietnam veteran too, and I've been going up to the veteran hospital, right? And just like there's so many people up there. at the VA hospital. It's hard to find a parking space. So I heard this old timer saying all them years, man. He said, well, we used to, he got 50 years sobriety now. He said, yeah, we will pray, and by the time we got, it was a parking space right there for me. So I said, okay. So I thought about what he told me, right? So now I'm going up to the VA hospital. I asked God, I said, God, I got a doctor's appointment today, and I have to, I'm going to drive my car there, but, and I have a parking space for me. As soon as I get up there, bam, a parking space was there. Car come around and behind me, and I had took the last parking space. Okay, it works and stuff. So the next time I go up to the VA hospital, I did the same thing again. I said, God, I need a parking space today. So as soon as I get up to the VA hospital, the parking lot is jam packed with cars and stuff. So as I'm cruising through the parking lot, one of those little bugs, okay, I'm going to say this and finish, right? One of those little small cars was in the parking lot, and he was parked on the end with the white part over there, but he didn't park completely in the parking space. He left enough space in there for me to get my SUV up in that parking space. So truly is a God. And after that, somebody said, William, if you go 2 blocks away in the parking lot, you always find parking space. So God is good all the time, and He's always been with me. So thank you. Definitely, this chapter here helped me a lot. Thank you.
Donald?
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Donald, and I'm a very grateful, recovered but not cured alcoholic. This chapter means so much to me because this is a chapter where I thought that I knew who God was, that I thought I knew what God was. But this is where I came to understand who, what, where, how, everything that I do know about God today. Like I keep saying over and over and stuff, my perception and conception of God has changed over the years. But this is where AA actually brought me back to God. And I'm so grateful, because ever since, my life means so much more. You can understand what's going on with me, about my alcoholism, about other people. And it gave me a new lease on life. And I'm so happy and grateful for it. And I'm sorry I didn't have my camera on and stuff, but I had 2 phone calls that came in back to back. As soon as I hung up with one, another one came up. My granddaughter got in trouble and stuff with one thing and stuff, and she doesn't know what's going on with court, and she just doesn't understand. And the other one was about HNI here locally and stuff. So those were 2 that I needed to take. And so I didn't really get to listen to the whole thing and stuff. I was trying to, but yet, trying to be 2 places at one time. But out of the times that I've read this chapter and stuff, I refer to it a lot, especially with my new sponsees. Because this is where our understanding of a higher power comes into play. And not everybody's perception or conception of God is going to be the same. And this is why. So I just want to say thank you guys, and God bless you, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Back to you, Shayna and Terry.
Back to oh, I think it's Terry's turn. I'm trying not to steal all the parts.
I thought I had to read the closing.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Unless you want to come in and share.
No, I'll read it. The closing from page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you could do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Yay! Thank you, Terry. And I believe it's the questions person that takes us out. Yes, I'm getting the head nod. I appreciate each and every one of you all. Thank you all for allowing me to be a part of service and for your participation. This meeting is for us. And how about a moment of silence for those that are still sick and suffering, both inside and outside of the rooms? And for those of us that maybe have...
Oops, sorry.
Okay, I'm done.
The exit stage left. All right, here's our moment. And then I invite everyone to hold your hand in the screen. This is our virtual way of holding hands, kind of like we would do in bricks and mortar if we were in person. But who will take us from shame to grace if we allow him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power, the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Amen.
Keep
Thank you,
coming
everyone.
back. It works.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
everybody.
Good to be here.
Good night, my friends.
Good night. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Tanya, for
Good
showing.
meeting.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for your service.
Thanks,
sir.
man.
Heyo.
Gracias.
Baracho.
Ah, to no one.
A whole bunch of them.
Yes, we are.
That's right.